morning. I will be presenting and discussing the content of business taxation. Business taxation refers to the taxes that businesses must pay as a normal part of business operations. It is imposed upon onerous transfers such as sale, barter, exchange, and importation. When we say onerous transfer or sale, it should be in the ordinary course of trade or business. When we say it is not in the ordinary course of trade or business, then probably we will not be talking any business taxation anymore. Kasi when we say business taxation nga, there is a sale. It is made in the ordinary course of trade or business. So, let's say for example, I have a mga gadget. Uh, if I will be engaging into buy and sell, then nandun ako in the ordinary course trade of business. But if that gadget, gusto ko lang ibigay my friend or to someone, di ba? Yaman. Pero I mean, if you just want to, ibenta mo lang kasi gusto mong bumili ng bago pero you're not really into selling, so there is no business taxation there. So that is not in the ordinary course of trade or business. Next, types of business tax. We have value-added tax, percentage tax, and excise tax. We may not be aware of it, but VAT is part of our life. We are paying it regularly. It is everywhere, especially when we purchase goods or we are purchasing goods or services. Take for an instance, we go to the salon to get our hair done. When we dine in a restaurant, or we buy clothes, we gas up our car, and many more. So VAT is always included in what we pay. But despite the fact VAT is everywhere, many of us are not aware of what VAT really is. So what is value-added tax? It is a form of sales tax. It is a tax on consumption levied on the sale, barter, exchange, or lease of goods or properties and services in the Philippines. It is an indirect tax. Yes, it is. We will be tackling that indirect tax later on. And which may be shifted or passed on to the buyer, transferee, or lessee of goods, properties, or services. Now, basically, we really know what VAT is kasi nga, it is the 12% additional in the selling price. So, basta we will go on na lang. Who is liable sa VAT? So, persons liable, it is any person who in the course of trade or business sells, barters, exchanges, leases goods or properties, renders services, and any person who import goods shall be subject to the value-added tax. Now, we know that, okay, the person liable for VAT should be the seller. It should be the seller. But what is happening is that the seller is passing the burden to the consumer na supposedly, let's make a scenario. You're going to buy a burger in a famous fast food chain. The burger costs 100 pesos. Now, you should supposed to pay 100 pesos. But because there is a value-added tax that should be shouldered by the seller, pero pinapasa ito sa end user or sa consumer, then instead of paying 100, then it will become 112 pesos. Now, so if you're going to ask who is the person liable for VAT, then the answer would be seller. So they are just passing the burden not the liability. So still, the liable is the seller. Unless it is importation, then it is the importer. Next, who are required to file VAT returns? It is any person or entity who in the course of his trade or business sells, barters, exchanges, leases goods or properties, and renders services subject to VAT if the aggregate amount of actual gross sales or receipts exceed 3 million pesos. Mm, if I am into buy and sell of gadgets and at the end of the year I have a gross sales of less than 3 million, I'm not required to file VAT returns. But if I am if I am into buy and sell of gadgets and at the end of the year I have a gross sales that is exceeding 3 million, then I am required to file. Next, a person required to register as VAT taxpayer but failed to register. There are um, there are other individuals who should be um, filing but failed to register. So they are the ones who require really who they are the one who are required to register as VAT taxpayer. And here it is any person, whether or not made in the course of his trade or business, who imports goods. No, value-added tax rates. Hmm. On sale of goods and properties, it is 12% of the gross selling price or gross value in money of the goods or properties sold, bartered, or engaged. Um, The term here, goods or properties, shall mean all tangible and intangible objects. It includes real properties held primarily for sale to customers or held for lease in the ordinary course of trade or business. And when it is intangible, it could be the right or the privilege to use patent, copyright, design or model, or goodwill, trademark, or other like property or right. The term gross selling price, means the total of money or its equivalent with which the purchaser pays or is obligated to pay to the seller, plus, excluding the value added tax. Kasi if you have a gross selling price of 1 million, it should be additional pa na 12%. Here it is on sale of service and use or lease of properties. Also the same sa goods and properties, it is 12% of gross receipts. If you are rendering a service, it is gross receipts, and if you're um, into goods and properties, then you have your gross sales. Now, same with sale of service, it's 12% from the sale or exchange of services, including the list of properties. Here, next, under value-added tax rates, we have on importation of goods, 12%, same doon sa goods and the services rendered. 12% based on the total value used by the Bureau of Customs in determining tariff and custom duties plus custom duties, excise taxes, if any, and other charges such as tax to be paid by the importer prior to the release of such goods from customs custody, provided that where the custom duties are determined on the basis of quantity or volume of the goods. The VAT shall be based on the landed cost plus excise tax, if any. And last one from value-added tax rates, it's on export sales and other zero-rated sales. So we will be discussing later on sa mga next slides. Exempt VAT transaction subject to OPT or the other percentage tax. Kasi nga, di ba, business tax is the types of business tax: value added, other percentage tax or percentage tax, and excise tax. So here, exempt VAT transaction subject to other percentage tax. It is a sale or lease of goods or properties or the performance of services other than transactions mentioned in the preceding paragraphs. The gross annual sales and receipts do not exceed the amount of 3 million pesos. As you can see, um, it is mentioned here in the preceding paragraphs kasi there under section hold on under section 109 there are 28 VAT exempt transactions. So here I will give an illustration here. Example, I am into the buy and sell ng gadgets. And yung gross annual sales ko at the end of the year is not exceeding 3 million. So, exempted ako sa VAT transaction. But, I am subject to other percentage tax. Kasi, another topic ito, na belong yung okay, it goes like this. Generally, when you're engaged in sale of goods and properties or sale of services, lease of properties and importation subject to VAT talaga siya unless your transaction is under the list of VAT exempt. Yun nga, example ko yung buy and sell ng gadget, this should be subject to VAT. However, if your total sales or total gross sales, hindi abot ng 3 million, then wala kang VAT. Provided also, hindi ka registered sa VAT system. Kasi, if you're registered sa VAT system, abot ka man 3 million or hindi, still, you're going to pay the value-added tax. Pero if yung reason lang ng pagiging tax exempt mo is hindi umabot ng 3 million, yun lang yung reason na bakit tax exempt ka kasi hindi umabot ng 3 million, yung annual sales mo, then you are subject. Ito pala yung gusto kong i-remember kanina. Hindi umabot ng, kung yung reason lang talaga bakit hindi ka isa-subject for VAT is dahil hindi ka umabot ng 3 million, then you're subject for percentage tax, which is 3%. Next, exempt from business tax, meaning wala talaga siyang VAT, walang percentage tax, also walang excise tax. So, kasi 'di ba yun yung types of business tax natin. So, kung wala siya doon sa tatlo, exempted talaga siya sa business tax itself. So, what is it? It is a sale or importation of agricultural and marine food products in their original state, livestock and poultry of a kind generally used as or yielding or producing foods for human consumption and breeding stock and genetic materials therefore. Here, the person engaged into importation of agricultural and marine food products in their original state, meaning raw materials talaga siya, like the vendor selling vegetables. Hindi siya luto. Gulay talaga siya. Raw pa siya. Regardless of the annual sales nung nagbebenta ng gulay, at the end of the year, regardless kung magkano yung sales niya, hindi siya subject to VAT. Kasi as we have mentioned before, there are 28 VAT exempt transaction. And first on the list itong agricultural and marine selling of agricultural and marine food products. And hindi siya belong din sa other percentage tax. So basically, not subject din siya for OPT. And of course, lalo na sa excise tax. Kasi hindi naman siya sin product like alcohol, tobacco, gulay naman. So not subject for excise tax. So to sum it up, there are 3 types of business tax. Since this example is not subject to any of the taxes I've mentioned, then there is no business tax. Next, characteristics of VAT. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na it is an indirect tax. Yung definition ng value-added tax. A tax that is shifted to the buyer or consumer. Meaning to say, yung liable person dapat ng VAT is si seller ay pwedeng umiwas sa VAT because instead of paying the VAT personally, ang ginagawa is pinapasa sa buyer or consumer. In short, hindi si seller ang magsushoulder ng VAT. Also, all business tax is indirect tax. Si business tax, but si VAT, indirect tax, si OPT, indirect tax, tsaka si excise. Under tax code, si business tax lang ang merong characteristics na indirect tax. Kasi sa income tax, income tax, hindi naman pwede na yung tax ko from my own income, ipapasa ko sa iba. So, only sa business tax lang, ano ba tawag na yan? Applicable itong sa indirect tax. Next, it is consumption based. It is the end user of consumer goods or services who will shoulder the tax. Ganito yan. Si ABC Corp, merong magsusupply sa kanya ng raw mats in order to manufacture the product. Let's say a beverage. So, meron siyang orange juice. Meron siyang supplier para mag-produce niya yung orange juice. So, when meron na siyang finished product, meron na siyang bottled orange juice, ibibenta niya ito sa wholesaler or distributor. In selling that, instead na siya, di ba, binenta niya yung bottled orange juice niya sa wholesaler or mga distributor. Kasi siya yung nag-manufacture, binenta niya. Supposedly, siya yung seller, siya yung shoulder ng VAT. Pero ang ginawa niya, pina-shoulder niya sa wholesaler or sa distributor. So ngayon, nagbayad na si wholesaler and distributor. But, ito si wholesaler and distributor, ibibenta niya ito sa mga retailers. So, mag-a-add na naman siya ng VAT galing doon sa manufacturing company, mag-a-add siya ng VAT. Mag-a-add siya ng another 12%. So, kumbaga, yung binayad niya kay manufacturing company, yung binayad ni wholesaler or ni distributor is galing kay retailer. Now, si retailer, ibebenta niya na yun sa end buyer, yung consumer, tayo. So, pagbenta niya sa atin, yung nabibili natin sa mga malls, retailer nga. Yung nabibili natin sa, nabibili natin sa mga convenience stores, subject na naman yun ng VAT. So, tayo, na pagbili natin ng product, kumbaga, from all the stages, from the production, sa pag-supply ng raw mat, from the manufacturing to the wholesaler to the retailer, tayo yung nag-shoulder ng VAT all in all. So, ito yung sinasabi na if you will trace back, si buyer na ang nagbayad ng lahat ng VAT. Kasi nga, as what the characteristic of VAT says, it is consumption-based. Next, it is imposed on the value added in each stage of production and distribution process. Interrelated lang ito sila sa previous characteristics. Kasi nga, imposed on the value added in each stage from the raw mats to the manufacturing company, and then sa manufacturing company, binigay kay wholesaler. Each stage of production and distribution process nun, meron VAT. And last, it is collected through the tax credit method or invoice method. We will be discussed sa mga next slides. We'll be discuss it deeper. Ito, output VAT. Actually, yung tinatandaan ko lang dito noon kasi nalilito din ako sa paano sila, paano sila gamitin or paano sila i-interpret when you are solving na the problem. Output tax. Ito, output tax, it is a VAT from sale, meaning the value-added tax due on the sale or lease of taxable goods or properties or services by any person registered or required to register. Input tax, it is a VAT from your purchases. So, input tax means the value-added tax due from or paid by a VAT registered person in the course of his trade or business on importation of goods or local purchase of goods or services, including lease or use of property. Ito lang, VAT from sale. So, merong output tax si wholesaler pagbenta niya kay merong output tax si manufacturing company pagbenta niya sa mga wholesaler or distributor. Kasi may VAT from sale. And then, si pagbili ni wholesaler ni distributor kay manufacturing company, meron siyang input tax. Kasi meron siyang VAT from purchasing the goods. So, ganon. Si input tax is deductible kay output tax. No. Creditable input tax. Any input tax evidenced by a VAT invoice or official receipt issued in accordance with Section 113 hereof on the following transaction shall be creditable against the output tax. For example, purchase or importation of goods. It must be for sale, not for personal use, for conversion into or intended to form part of a finished product, for sale including packaging materials, or for use as supplies in the course of business, not for household effects, for use as materials supplied in the sale of service, for use in trade or business for which deduction for depreciation or amortization is allowed under this code. So, yun yung under sa purchase or importation of goods. We also have purchase of services on which a value-added tax has actually been paid. So another here under creditable input tax, the input tax on domestic purchase or importation of goods or properties by a VAT registered person shall be creditable. So if the purchase or importation of goods by a VAT registered person, provided na to the purchaser upon consummation of sale and on importation of goods or properties, and to the importer upon payment of the value-added tax prior to the release of the goods, which is under sa mga tariffs na ni Bureau of Customs, or under na sa rule ni Bureau of Customs. I guess, number 3, a VAT registered person who is also engaged in transactions not subject to the value-added tax shall be allowed tax credit as follows. Ang total input tax, which can be directly attributed to transactions subject to value-added tax, and a rateable portion of any input tax which cannot be directly attributed to either activity. Now, the next slide will be yung na-mention ko kanina, yung 28 VAT exempt transactions. So, under Section 109 yun. So, first is a sale or importation of agricultural and marine food products in their original state. livestock and poultry of a kind generally used as or yielding or producing foods for human consumption and breeding stock and genetic materials therefore. If na-remember nyo, it is the same with the example or the illustration I gave. Actually, wala illustration. The example I gave yung sa a vendor selling a vegetables, yung gulay. So, if if you're engaged into selling agricultural and marine food products, therefore, you're exempt. You're not subject for VAT, regardless kung umabot ka ng 3 million or hindi, or sumobra ka ng 3 million at the end of the year. Provided lang na yung ibibenta mo is for foods for human consumption in their original state, meaning yung raw talaga. Okay, products classified under this paragraph shall be considered original state also yung mga dumaan ng process na such as freezing, drying, salting, broiling, roasting, smoking, or stripping. So, di ba, sinabi natin kanina, when it is original, in products in their original state, it should be raw, raw talaga siya. Pero ito, they are considered yung mga, let's say for example, yung mga salted egg, di ba, dumaan na sila ng process, kaya bakit sila red, or bakit maalat yung itlog. So, that is VAT exempt. Another VAT exempt transaction is the sale or importation of fertilizer, seeds, seedlings, and fingerlings, fish, prawn, livestock, and poultry feeds, including ingredients whether locally produced or imported, used in the manufacture of finished feeds, except yung mga feeds for fighting cocks, para sa aquarium, para sa mga other animals, because these are not for human consumption. They are considered pets. So, sila, ang sale or importation din ng mga fertilizers or seeds are VAT exempt simply to lower the cost or to make the product affordable. So, VAT exempt na kasi si agricultural product. So, isasalin na si fertilizer because when they plant the vegetables, syempre, kailangan ng fertilizer. So, kung gusto nilang paramihin yung pananim, they'll be needing seeds. So, basically, interrelated sila. So, at the same time, VAT exempt din yung mga transaction under this. Next, importation of personal and household effects belonging to the residents of the Philippines returning from abroad and non-resident citizens coming to resettle in the Philippines. Here, if galing ka sa labas, nagbakasyon ka, and then, syempre, mamimili ka ng damit or something souvenir from that particular country, then, syempre, uuwi ka ng Pilipinas. If you will use that in your own for just personal use, it is VAT exempt. Maliban na lang kung bumili ka ng madaming, like, isang truck ng mga damit doon, I think it's not justifiable for personal use. So, basically, pag ganun, di na siya VAT exempt. So, if yung Filipino din, galing other countries, bumili siya ng gamit sa bahay or other personal effects, di din siya subject to VAT. Provided na magiging exempted siya sa VAT, provided that such goods are exempt from custom duties under the tariff and custom codes. Yun. Next, is importation. Ito medyo mahaba pero madali lang naman to. Parang interrelated din siya sa C, sa Section 109C. Importation of professional instruments and implements, tools of trade, occupation, or employment, wearing apparel, domestic animals, and personal and household effects belonging to persons coming to settle in the Philippines or Filipinos or their families and descendants who are now residents or citizens to other countries. Such parties hereinafter referred to as an overseas Filipinos in quantities and of the class suitable for the profession, rank, or position of the persons importing said items for their own use and not for barter or sale, accompanying such persons or arriving within a reasonable time. So it is simply, it will cover Filipinos or American citizen. Yung mga tito or tita natin na Filipino naman, but since matagal na sa ibang country or sa Amerika, they became American citizen. But still, medyo yung tumanda na, they want to resettle in the Philippines, or yung foreign person na nag-retire na, alam niya na sa Philippines, hindi ganun ka-expensive yung cost of living, gusto niya ding mag-settle dito, pwede yun. VAT exempt transaction yun. If, for example, yung magre-retire is engineer doon or doctor, syempre may gamit siyang dadalhin sa Pilipinas, like ano ba, mga stethoscopes or mga machines niya as being an engineer, or anything na gamit niya, or any professional instruments. Pagdating yan sa Pilipinas, it is VAT exempt. Okay? Next is Section 109E, services subject to percentage tax under Title V or 5. Services subject to percentage tax. Okay. Value-added tax and other percentage tax should not be imposed na sabay. For example, ako may business, hindi ako pwedeng bayad ako ng VAT, magbabayad din ako ng OPT. Dapat isa lang. If taxable under other percentage tax, hindi na siya pwedeng i-tax under VAT. So, ito, if yung services, kasi si other percentage tax, meron din siyang other percentage tax exempt transactions. Pero mas marami lang itong sa value-added tax. So, if yung services niya subject na sa percentage tax, kasi may mga list na yan sila, no need na siyang i-tax pa for VAT. Next, services by agricultural contract growers and milling for others of palay into rice, corn into grits, and sugarcane into raw sugar. Not subject to VAT si contract grower kasi they are related to agricultural food product original state. They are related to agricultural food product original state. Magmamahal yan if iva-VAT mo. So, let's say, for example, if you, si grower, pag red, basta, to make it understandable, si contract grower, VAT exempt siya, yung services na ino-offer niya. Here naman sa milling, if you're a milling and if you're a miller and rendering services other than these three, yung palay into rice, corn into grits, sugarcane into raw sugar, your services will be subject to VAT. Limited lang kasi yung VAT exempt under sa milling. Dapat ito lang tatlo, palay into rice, corn into grits, and sugar into raw sugar. Kung meron pang iba na milling activities, VAT, subject for VAT na yun. Kasi limited lang siya dito sa tatlo. Let's say, for example, milling a flour, VATable na yun. Next is medical, dental, hospital, and veterinary services except those rendered by professionals. Ito naman, we all know that professional fees are VATable. Yung professional fee ng doctors, engineers, architects, basta yung mga professional services, VATable yan, subject to VAT. Now, laboratory services, yung mga x-rays, mga ganun, regardless kung sa clinic siya ginawa or sa hospital, VAT exempt siya. So, doon na siya. Doon na, it could be the best example for medical. At the same time, kung na-confine ka, confinement is medical services rendered by the hospital and not rendered by the professionals. So, VAT exempt din. VAT exempt din under dito sa veterinary if yung pets nyo, pina-confine nyo. Pero if pinag-groom nyo lang, then it is subject for VAT. Section 109H, Educational Services rendered by private educational institutions duly accredited by the DepEd, the CHED, the TESDA, and those rendered by government educational institution. Meaning, limited only to private educational institution that is accredited sa dun sa tatlo kong minention. And it does not include mga seminars, service for trainings, review centers, or schools, although we call them schools, but they are not accredited kasi sa CHED, TESDA, or DepEd. Therefore, they are not VAT exempt. Again, private educational institutions that is engaged in two educational services lang yung VAT exempt. Kasi it could be na itong university na ito, sa loob ng campus niya may mga tenants. So, mag-earn siya ng income doon for leasing or for rental ng space. That is not part of educational services. Yun siya, VAT, subject for VAT na yun. But, educational services alone, yun, VAT exempt. Section 109I, services rendered by individuals pursuant to an employer-employee relationship. Madali lang ito. Employees, of course, are rendering services. Diba? So, basically, employees is not engaged to any ordinary course of trade or business kasi nga, empleyado siya. So, there is no business transaction doon. So, hindi siya subject for VAT. J, services rendered by regional or area headquarters established in the Philippines by multinational corporations which acts as supervisory communications and coordinating centers for their affiliates, subsidiaries, or branches in the Asia-Pacific region and do not earn or derive income from the Philippines. It involves two terms, regional headquarters and regional operating headquarters. Now, in this section, in this VAT exempt transaction, we will determine if what kind of headquarters are they going to establish. If the multinational corporation will put up a regional headquarter purely for supervising, for communicating and coordinating, then and it does not derive any income, then VAT exempt siya. But if yung multinational corporation will establish a regional operating headquarters and allowed to derive income from our country, so there is income. So there is an income tax kasi nga may income. So pag may income, merong business. So if there is a business, ano na siya, subject na siya for VAT. Next is transactions which are exempt under international agreement to which the Philippines is a signatory or under special laws, except those under Presidential Decree number 529. Sa pagkakaintindi ko, VAT exempt siya kasi napagkasunduan. It was an international agreement or treaty na VAT exempt siya. So, it's like, bakit siya VAT exempt? Or bakit VAT exempt yung transaction? Simply because nasa international agreement siya or sa treaty. So, ganun. Next is sales by agricultural cooperatives duly registered with the Cooperative Development or Authority or the CDA to their members, as well as sale of their produce, whether in its original state or process form, to non-members, their importation of direct farm inputs, machineries. Here, it is important to know who is the owner of the product, regardless if processed siya or in its original state. Basta product siya ni agricultural cooperative. Then, pag ganun, VAT exempt siya. Also, regardless kung sino yung buyer, kung member ba siya ng cooperative or hindi, VAT exempt pa rin. It will only be subject to VAT if the product is not owned by the agricultural cooperative. At binenta niya pa sa non-member. But still, subject to VAT pa rin siya if yung product is not owned at binenta sa member. Same pa rin, subject for VAT. Next is gross receipts from lending activities by credit or multi-purpose cooperatives duly registered with the CDA. Here, limited only to lending activities. If it is multi-purpose, meaning engage into various business, still only the lending activity. Kasi pwede namang si credit cooperative, tayo ng canteen, it is not engaged into lending activity. So, the income derived from that business is subject to VAT. Pero pag lending activity, yun lang yung VAT exempt. Also, regardless kung member or not member ng cooperative yung pinapautang, it doesn't matter, still VAT exempt. If non-lending in nature na yung business, kasi multi-purpose yun, subject to VAT. Next, it is a sales by non-agricultural, non-electric, and non-credit cooperatives duly registered with the CDA. Provided na yung share capital contribution is not exceeding 15,000. So as you can see, Section 109L is about agricultural cooperatives, and then CM is lending activities, mga credit cooperative. Now, CN is other types of co-op. Diyan napapasok yung not agricultural, hindi multi-purpose co-op, hindi credit co-op. Example is, for example, si cooperative na decide to put up a convenience store. So, convenience store is not, hindi siya agricultural, hindi siya under Section 109L. Hindi siya credit co-op. So, it will not belong to Section 109M. It will fall to Section 109M and not subject to VAT. Provided nga na yung each member doon is not exceeding its share contribution to 15,000. Ganon. Next is export sales by persons who are not VAT registered. Simply stating that export sales is VAT exempt if the exporter is not VAT registered. However, if the exporter is VAT registered, then subject to VAT. Pero, 0%. Yan yung kanina yung diniscuss na value-added rates, yung pang-apat na 0, meron siyang taxable siya pero 0%. Why 0? Kasi nga, bawal mag-impose ng tax beyond the territorial jurisdiction. Kasi nga export. So, from our country going to another foreign country. So, ganun. Um, Here, sale of real properties not primarily held for sale to customers or held for lease in the ordinary course of trade or business. And another one, real property utilized for low cost and socialized housing as defined by Republic Act number 7279, otherwise known as the Urban Development and Housing Act of 1992, and other related laws, residential lot valued at 1,500,000 pesos and below. House and lot and other residential dwellings valued at 2,500,000 pesos and below. Ito, si A, dito sa, um, dito sa, ha, real property utilized, no. Sale of real properties not primarily held for sale to customers or held for lease. Oh, what exempt talaga yun? Nagbibenta ka lang, binenta mo lang yung lupa, pero hindi ka talaga engaged for selling. Gusto mo na siya ibenta. Kasi, sa'yo. Ganyan. So, hindi siya subject for VAT. Another one, yeah, because the sale is not made in the ordinary course of business. Hindi yun siya yung the usual business transaction mo. Next is itong real property utilized for low cost and socialized housing. Ito real estate dealers like Ayala Land, Camellia. If ever meron silang merong pabentang pabahay, yung mura, at the same time pasok sa low cost budget. Si low cost kasi dapat hindi mag-exceed ng 2 million. So it is so that it could be affordable but exempt yun. Last, under this section 109P is residential lot valued at 1,500,000 exempted. Example ulit, si Ayala Land or si Camellia will engage into selling residential lot, lupa lang, hindi kasali yung bahay, and then the buyer, siya na yung bahala magpapatayo ng bahay. Lot alone, if the value of the lot will not exceed 1.5, but exempt yun. Okay? Next, Section 109Q, lease of a residential unit with a monthly rental not exceeding 15,000 pesos. Ito yung mga apartments. If yung lease is for commercial unit, yun, subject to VAT. Pero ito kasi, pag residential, at hindi man lang umabot ng 15,000 yung rental a month, like sa mga apartments, VAT exempt. Ayun. Okay? Like for example, si si mother mo, gusto lang niyang iparent yung bahay nyo, less than 15, VAT exempt na. Next is sale, importation, printing, or publication of books and any newspaper, magazine, review, or bulletin which appears at regular intervals with fixed prices for subscription and sale and which is not devoted principally to the publication of paid advertisements. Dito, books is VAT exempt agad. But newspaper, magazines, and bulletins, they will be subjected to for VAT exempt, provided it appears at regular intervals and not devoted. Ito, nakastate dito sa Section 109R. Unlike kasi si books, VAT exempt agad kasi hindi siya in a regular intervals ginagawa. Like sa newspaper, magazine, halos newspaper everyday ang printing, magazine in a regular interval basis din. So, provided lang din na it is not for publication or paid advertisements. Okay? Next is transport of passengers by international carriers. Transport of passengers by international carriers, no business tax, meaning no VAT, no other percentage tax. Kasi nga, no business tax siya kasi both wala. Importation of fuel, goods, and supplies by persons engaged in international shipping or air transport operation. Fuel, goods, supplies by whom? It should be any person engaged in international shipping or air transport. Example, si PAL, Philippine Airlines. Nag-import siya ng fuel, gas, and supplies for international operation. VAT exempt agad. Also, provided na from Philippines, directly, it should go to foreign ports. Like from Philippines to Singapore, then bumalik ng Cebu, hindi pwede. It should not stop in any ports in the Philippines. If nangyari yon, subject for VAT na siya. Okay? Next is association dues, membership fees, and other assessments and charges collected by homeowners, associations, and condominium corporations. Ito yung payment. Hold on. We missed the Y. Payment for basura, yung mga ilaw, guards. That's why it is on a purely reimbursement basis, but exempt din. Si Section 109Z, sale of gold to Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Very easy. Sale of gold purely between the seller and the BSP. If it is not gold and if it is not sold to BSP, then it is not but exempt. Ganun. Okay. Na-interchange ko. So, we have V, Section 109, na-interchange ko yung slides. But anyway, Section 109V, services of bank, non-bank financial intermediaries performing quasi-banking functions and other non-bank financial intermediaries. Financial institution are subject to VAT exempt, but hindi sila subject sa VAT exempt, pero subject sila to percentage tax. That's the reason. Kaya sila exempted na kasi nasa OPT na sila. Here sa financial intermediaries, kasali si pawn shop and money changer. We have W, sale or lease of goods and services to senior citizens and persons with disability as provided under RA numbers 9994. Here, simply, persons who are senior and PWD is VAT exempt. Wala nang iba. X, transfer of property pursuant to Section 40C2 of the NIRC as amended. It talks about tax-free exchange, which refer to those instances enumerated in Section 40C2 that it is not subject to income tax, doc stamps, capital gains tax, and VAT. So, example, I have a lot, may akong lupa, and have it transferred to a corporation, which gives a reason for me to become a major stockholder. Then, that transfer is not subject to VAT. Ano lang siya. Okay? So, yeah, this is the last two. Section 109AA, sale of drugs and medicines prescribed for diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension beginning, this year lang ito nasali sa tax code. Regardless kung senior ang bibili or regardless kung hindi senior citizen or hindi PWD, anybody, basta yung bibilhin niya is for diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension, VAT exempt agad. Last one, sale or list of goods or properties or the performance of services other than transactions mentioned in the preceding paragraphs, the gross annual sales and our receipts that exceed the amount of 3 million. Actually, we've discussed this one kanina pa. Pag hindi lang, simple lang, pag hindi nag-exceed ng 3 million, yung annual sales, gross sales, and gross receipts at the end of the year, VAT exempt, provided you are not registered sa VAT system. Kasi if you are registered sa VAT system, then regardless kung mabot ka ng 3 million or hindi, subject ka for VAT. So, tapos na natin yung 28 VAT exempt transactions. We've discussed them one by one. And that would be all for my discussion sa business taxation for value-added tax. Thank you.